Hello, I'm Steve Parker and welcome to How to Become a Professional DJ. In this video I'll walk you step by step on what it takes to be big in the business by means of what type of equipment to buy and stage presence and what type of music to buy and how to advertise yourself and become big. First I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Scarborough, Ontario, Canada, which is a little northeast just outside of Toronto. I grew up in a middle income family with one sister. Family was very close, and growing up I had a great knowledge, not a great knowledge of music, but a great interest of music because I was a drummer. I loved to play the drums, practice the drums on a daily basis. It annoyed my mother sometimes, but drummed on a daily basis. Was in a couple bands when I was a teenager. My parents used to like people like Engelbert and Tom Jones and Ray Price and Shirley Bassey and music like that. They had parties in their basement, which grew my love for music even more and gave me the knowledge of the older music as well. When I went to high school, my high school was primarily a heavy metal school. So they'd like things like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and things of that nature. So that was my preference of music when I was growing up, is the heavier stuff. Then in the late 70s, my sister got married. And at her wedding, she had an absolute amazing DJ. What struck me about this DJ was his stage presence and his variety of music that he played. Very professional person he was, and as soon as I seen that, I knew right away that's what I wanted to do. So in 1984, I did a couple birthday parties, and I did a bowling dance for a league that my parents were in. And then shortly after that, my dad opened a credit card account just for my business. And he was very proactive that I pay back the money that I made to this credit card account. Now, growing up, when I was born, I had a condition called aniridia, which basically means no irises in your eyes. And as you might know, the irises is what keeps the light out of your eyes. Hence, it made my eyes closed. Now, it didn't make me very popular at school. I went through normal schooling, junior high, high school, got my diploma, but it was a struggle. So you're probably thinking, well, then how on earth did you become a DJ? Well, again, it was all due to my dad. My dad drove me to every gig. He helped me pack the car. He helped me set up the equipment. And he watched the crowd dancing. And if people weren't dancing, he let me know. If people were jumping around in their chairs but not getting up to dance, he let me know. And when I needed bathroom breaks or I had to go out on the floor and do some MC work, he was behind the equipment and handled the music. Then at the end of the night, he drove me home, helped me unpack, and he did that for the better part of 17 years. In 1995, I got married, and in 1998, my wife and I had a son. In 2001, we thought that getting a caregiver for every Saturday night was a little too much, so we decided to not DJ as much anymore. At that point, I didn't advertise myself, and I just did whenever someone requested my service, then that's when I did a party. But in the 80s, when I started the business, my business I called Star Performances Disc Jockey Service, because yes, I always wanted to be a star. And my mother came up with that name. And so Star Performances was so much requested within 2 years of the business that I had to hire someone. And I went through the process of interviewing guys and made sure that they had knowledge of music and had a reliable vehicle and didn't mind traveling and things of that nature. And then there was 2 systems going out every Saturday night. And another year after that, word of mouth has spread so much again And moving to a smaller community and being in more demand, I had to hire a third person. So 3 people going out on a Saturday night, and I was making good money, so I was able to turn the business into full-time in the late 80s. As I said, in 2001, we pretty much stopped doing it for the most part, but my love for music has never died, and my son now is considering taking over the business. And I wanted to do this video many years ago, but technology was just going so fast, and it was just so impossible to talk about just using turntables at the time, per se. And then all of a sudden CDs come along, and then now it's all digital. So things have leveled out a little bit more, so I decided to share some secrets and stories with you about my experiences. And now that I've taught my son to be a DJ, I think it's the right time to teach all of you. Now you might want to say to yourself, why would you want to become a DJ? Well, there's a bunch of different things. There's the fame, and unless you're a touring DJ, there's not a lot of fame involved, because there's just so many DJs and so many DJ companies that you're going to be known in the municipalities around the major area that you live and work. But outside of that, you're not going to get a lot of business, and your name's not going to be known. So unless you do a lot of festivals throughout the world, say you go to Argentina, you do some outside festivals there and stuff, there's not a lot of fame involved. You might want to do it for the money. Well, it depends on how much money you want to charge, which I'll get into later as well. I at first charged $75 an hour. Nowadays, DJs are charging anywhere from $200 to $300 an hour. At least in Canada, where I live. So unless you get a lot of work and have a multi-operating systems like I had, then it's not going to be a full-time thing. So it's going to be good money, but it's not going to be a lot of money all the time. There's peaks and valleys. Obviously January, February are slow months versus December, where you're doing a whole bunch of Christmas dances all at once. The other thing is, so the fame and the money, and you might want to do it because of the music. And as I said, I grew up as a drummer, and so I had a great interest in music, and that's why I got into it. Now there's different types of DJs that you can become. I talked about the fame. So there's touring DJs, where you tour around the world and do outdoor festivals and things of that nature. There's radio DJs, where there's dozens and dozens of radio stations. And depending on who hires you, you might have to move to that location and not be very happy in that location, but that's where you work, so that's where you have to move to. And it might be a certain programming of that radio station that you're doing day in and day out. So it might be a country radio station. Well, what if you don't like country music? But it's a job. So it's like retail. If you don't believe in the store or like the store, well, it's still a job and you have to stay there. And then the last type, which obviously I was a mobile DJ, where you're doing weddings, anniversaries, banquets, bar mitzvahs, Christmas dances, Halloween dances, Valentine's Day dances, Legion dances, street dances, all that kind of stuff. So you have to think about if you want to, go out and sacrifice your time on Saturday nights, and how much time you want to devote to the business. Now, another thing you have to consider is your knowledge of music. So if you just want to play in a club, and that's another type of DJ, club DJ. If you just want to play in a club, a lot of clubs just play EDM music, which is electronic dance music. And they play trance, and they play house, and sometimes hip-hop. But it's basically Friday and Saturday nights. So if you have the knowledge of that kind of music and you want to do a lot of beat matching, which I'll get into later as well, or a lot of scratching, which I'll get into later as well, that might be the type of thing you like and the type of thing you might not like. If you're doing weddings and banquets and things of that nature, it's all age groups. So if you're doing weddings, which was at my time 42% of my business, you are getting people of all ages, you know, the parents and grandparents of the bride and groom and things like that. When you're doing Christmas dances, you're doing older people as well, because older people work for companies, not just young people. So you have to know the knowledge and the span of the years of music. There's obviously 50s and 60s music, there's big band music, there's swing music, there's novelty stuff like polkas and waltzes and things like that. There's top 40 for the younger people, there's house music, there's disco music back in the days. So you have to have a big knowledge of music depending on the type of DJ that you want to be. If you're a touring DJ, you might want to even know some ethnical stuff of the country you're performing within. Also, with being a DJ, you have to have somewhat of a good voice. Obviously, if you're going to be a radio DJ, you have to have an enthusiastic and strong voice. Not so much if you're being a wedding DJ or a party DJ. A lot of people now are demanding that the DJ also be the MC. And again, you're going to have a good voice in order to, if you're emceeing a wedding, to introduce the bride and groom and father-daughter and mother-son and doing the garter routine and any other special stuff, any other special announcements of birthdays or anniversaries or things of that nature. Basically, all it takes with a voice is being enthusiastic. So you raise your voice and lower your voice throughout the sentences and sound enthusiastic. Right now in the place of employment I work at, they have me doing the closing store announcements because they like how I put the enthusiasm in my voice. Now that's not going to be automatic when you start DJing, but it's something you have to practice. So you have to project your voice. You can't, even though you can put the microphone right up to your mouth, you just can't whisper a sentence. You have to be enthusiastic and you have to project that voice. And that's going to come with time. When you're a radio DJ, that may come a little bit faster because you're doing a lot more announcements of corporate stuff. But when you're a mobile DJ, if you think you're not going to have to talk when you're a mobile DJ, you're wrong, because you have to make those special announcements for certain people. You just can't sit behind your system and not say anything. So don't worry about your voice, but practice developing your voice to become a DJ. Okay, so first I'd like to talk a little bit more about developing your voice and use some examples for this. As I was saying a few moments ago, using enthusiasm in your voice is very important because you want to keep your listeners and your audience engaged. Let's first talk about a radio DJ. A radio DJ is going to talk more than any other kind of DJ. A radio DJ is going to want to keep their audience engaged and invoke a response from them. To invoke a response from their listeners, that means that they want their listeners to keep on listening or to come back at a later time and listen again. So let's say that a song just ends and a radio DJ says this: "That was not the only one by Sam Smith. The time is now 8:42. Okay, so while that might have seemed okay, a little more enthusiasm in the voice, as well as putting a little more emphasis on what you're saying about not only the music, but everything else within that sentence. So it needs to go something like this: "That was not the only one by Sam Smith. What a career he's going to have. I can see him going far in the next few months and years to come. It's now 8:42 in the morning. What a beautiful day this is starting out to be." So now you can hear the difference. So He's putting an emphasis on the artist that he just played. He's putting emphasis and enthusiasm within his voice. And he's putting emphasis on the other topic he started talking about the time of day. A club DJ is probably going to talk the least out of any other kind of DJ. Now let's talk about being a mobile DJ. There's always going to be times when you're a mobile DJ that you're going to make special announcements or even introduce yourself. So it's the same thing with a mobile DJ, that you're going to want to invoke a response from the audience. If you plan on doing weddings as a mobile DJ, then sometimes you'll be asked to be an MC. What an MC does is introduces people and makes special announcements. So people hold big weddings because not only do they want to share in their special day with loved ones, but they also want a little bit of recognition. A mobile DJ invokes a response from the crowd in order to get them that recognition. So at the beginning of the night, rather than saying, "Welcome to Steve and Judy Parker's wedding," that's not invoking a response from the crowd, and nor is it sounding enthusiastic. So, and I'm just using my and my wife's name as an example here. So rather than doing that, you should at the beginning of the night, "Welcome to the wedding of Steve and Judy Parker!" And you'll hear the crowd clap for sure. So now here's an example of a DJ for the bride and groom's first dance. "I'd like to call the bride and groom to the dance floor now for their first dance." So while that may sound professional, there's no enthusiasm, nor is it invoking a response from the crowd. So let's try this. "Okay, we're going to have the bride and groom come to the dance floor now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Parker!" Automatic clap from the crowd. Now the same thing goes for the end of the first dance, where you want to invoke a response from the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Parker!" And it has enthusiasm there and makes the crowd clap. Now notice I didn't say, "Let's hear it for Mr. and Mrs. Parker." I just said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Miss," and I said it in a way that's enthusiastic, and I said it in a way that's a build-up, so that the crowd automatically recognizes this as a point that yes, we want to clap for them because of the way we've heard this. Now there's nothing wrong with asking your crowd to respond to something throughout some of your shows, but crowds don't always want to respond when you ask them to. So as a mobile DJ or a club DJ, sometimes you can go, "Let's hear you make some noise!" And the crowd responds. So as a DJ, make it interesting by not talking too much and drag it out, and not talking too little. Put emphasis in your voice and do it in a way that you're not always asking the crowd to respond to you. Well, I'd have to say that the best function I ever did was funny enough, was the night before I met my wife. November 27th, 1992. And it was in downtown Toronto, and it was for a bunch of teenagers, and there was 500 teenagers there. And it took 3 of us to do the function. It was my dad and my employee Dan and myself, and they were requesting a lot of music because I could hardly get the requests on fast enough. My dad was working the lights, and Dan was talking to the guests, and I was running the music, and they kept telling me what kind of music they liked, because I was so busy concentrating on getting the music on because there was so many people and so many requests. So as I said, 500 people, I've never done a function like that before. The first thing you're going to need to become a professional disc jockey is a reliable vehicle. The size of vehicle you buy is going to be dependent upon the amount of money you have to spend on it, and also the amount of equipment you're going to carry to your gigs. You also need money for things like insurance, registration, gas, and maintenance. So if you're a club DJ or a mobile DJ and you're just carrying a small amount of equipment, a vehicle like this size might be okay for you. But if you're going to add a whole light system, then you're going to want something much, much bigger. Now that you've decided what type of DJ you'd like to be, and you've gotten a reliable vehicle, it's now time to decide which type of media you'd like to use. But first, a little bit of a history lesson. In 1877, Thomas Edison created the first phonograph. A phonograph is a machine that enables recording and playback of sound. Recording of sound was possible by someone speaking or singing into a large horn, and the vibrations of this would cause a stylus to create grooves in a wax surface. in 1888, the Thomas Edison Company started manufacturing cylinder records. On cylinder records, there's one song per record. The cylinders come in cardboard tubes like this. The title of the song is not listed anywhere on these tubes, but the song is listed on the rim, imprinted onto the rim of the cylinder with the product ID as well. These cylinders are made out of wax, and in later versions of the cylinder they started using celluloid. As you can see, the cylinders have grooves, and there's approximately 100 grooves per inch. In later versions there's about 200 grooves per inch. Now when these cylinders are played on a phonograph, they play at relatively about 120 RPMs. Later versions of the cylinders played at 160 RPMs. The song on here would be approximately 2.5 minutes to 4 minutes long. These cylinders were manufactured, as I said, from 1888 up to 1929. In 1910, these were also started to be manufactured by the National Phonograph Company, and these are called diamond discs. As you can see, they're quite thick. They're about 1/4 inch thick, and they're called diamond discs because they have to be played with diamond styluses. So again, there's a song on either side of this disc, and in the middle of the disc the title is imprinted right onto the disc. This was in 1910 they started manufacturing these, and in the 1920s they started making the discs with a paper label on the middle of the discs. In the 1930s, after cylinder records and diamond discs, came the 78 RPM records. Now these records are much more thinner than diamond discs, but still only have one song per side of the record. After that came what we now know as the LP record. The LP record plays at 33 1/3 RPMs. With the advanced technology, manufacturers were now able to put 5 songs per side of the record. Each song has a space in between it for easy queuing. The disadvantage to using records like this is that once you get quite a lot of these into a case and taking them to a gig, it becomes quite a heavy task. Now these LP records come in a cardboard sleeve like this, and inside the cardboard sleeve the LP was contained within a paper sleeve as well. Whenever a company wanted to put out a hit promoting that LP, they then came out with a small record like this, also in a paper sleeve. This is a 45 RPM record. As you can see, the hole in the middle is quite larger than the LP. So what record companies had to do is sell these little adapters, and these would snap in to the framing of the middle of the record like that, and then with this hole here you can still put it on the spindle of your turntable. Then companies wised up to that, and they started making some of the 45s as the entire center being the whole label, and again the small hole like the LP for the spindle of the turntable. Then companies started making various colors of vinyl, like this Elvis one is yellow, and I have a Elvis one here which is a white vinyl. Then they just started doing the same thing with LPs. So they started making various colors of LPs as well. This kind of looks attractive on a turntable when you're DJing. It kind of sets you apart from other DJs that are just using typical black vinyl records. Then record companies also started doing what's called a picture disc for their 45s. So this being a Madonna one, this is a picture disc of hers. and this is a Def Leppard one. These aren't really practical to play. They are playable, but they're not practical when you're DJing because they're harder to handle. And then companies thought, well, if we could put one single out on a 45, and with the creation of remixes, they started coming out with 12-inch singles. And that's what this is, meaning that 12 inch is the size of the platter. And there's typically 1 to 3 songs per side of the record, with the same song remixed in various versions of that song. After that, we got into cassette tapes. Cassette tapes, exactly what the name implies, it's actually an actual tape. The tape is encased in this hard plastic form, and it winds around these two reels here. So you can wind this one all the way till this one is empty and this one is full, or vice versa. These tapes came in 30, 60, and 90-minute formats. They were blank tapes. They also record companies also produced tapes that were like the LPs. Only there was actual music on them when you bought them, but there was also blank tapes that you could buy, and you could put your own music on them for those 30, 60, 90-minute tapes. Typically with a 90-minute tape, you could fit about 15 songs per side of the tape. The advantage to these are they're much more compact than LPs. The disadvantage is that if you want to find a song, then you're going to have to forward fast or rewind all the way through the tape to find the point of the song or the start of the song that you want to start playing as your next song. That becomes quite time consuming while a song is playing, and if you run out of time, then you're going to have blank air. The next technology that came out was compact discs. Again, the advantage is that they're slimmer than cassette tapes. They're smaller than LPs. They've got spaces in between the songs for queuing points. The disadvantage that some DJs feel is that they're not as queuable as actual LPs are, or as digital music is. So again, the compact discs come in hard cases like this. They normally have a sleeve or a booklet in the front with the artist's information on it, and behind this hard plastic piece here, they have the back cover which lists your songs on it. And if you're stacking your CDs upright like this, then they'll have the name and the artist on the edge of the CD right there. The CD itself, as you can see, it's like a mini record. The artist's information is all engraved onto the top of the CD. Now when this is placed into a CD player, it'll usually slide into a drawer, and the laser, when pressed played on the CD player, will activate from the bottom of the disc and shoot up, and it will read the disc from the inner edge to the outer edge, unlike a record where it goes from the outer to the inner. These CDs, as I said, are convenient for any type of DJing you're doing. If you're in a club or mobile work, they're compact, they're easy to use. They're still available, unlike cassette tapes aren't available anymore. LPs are still available. And next we'll talk about digital music. The last media option you should consider is digital music. Digital music is basically data files on your computer. Data files get onto your computer by downloading music from different websites, or with using certain software ripping your CDs and vinyl to your computer. Now the advantages of digital music obviously is that if you're using just that one format, then you don't have to carry turntables and CD players around with you. And the accessibility of music online is much greater than the other two formats right now. The disadvantage is that it's not quite as hands-on as using CDs or using vinyl. With CD players or CDs, CDs you can beat match with now, but the accessibility of dance remixes and other types of music might be a little restricted. With vinyl, a lot of club DJs prefer vinyl because they have the ability to scratch and to do beat matching a lot easier with vinyl. They also like the warmth sound of vinyl over CDs. However, with vinyl it can get scratched or damaged or even broke much easier than obviously the other two formats. So whichever type of DJ you are, you can either use one, two, or all three of these formats. Before buying your equipment, you should decide on how much money you have and how much money you want to spend on this equipment. Before buying any expensive equipment, you should do some sort of research on what equipment is currently available or what's going to be good for your own needs. When doing research, you can go to Google and type in things like where to buy professional DJ equipment or professional DJ speakers or something of that nature. If you're on a budget, then you could buy your equipment from eBay or from Craigslist or from your local newspaper or look in your local pawn shop. You could also ask other DJs what type of equipment they use. If you see a DJ, you can ask them, where did you buy your speakers or your amplifier or whatever piece of equipment. You could also go to electronic trade shows or DJ trade shows, and that way you'll be sure to see what type of equipment is currently available. This was a DJ trade show in downtown Toronto in 2015. At DJ trade shows like this, you'll find equipment manufacturers, seminars, and demonstrations by business professionals that will help you with every aspect of the DJ business. So now I'm going to talk to you about the equipment you're going to need to become a professional disc jockey. But before I begin, the equipment I'm using today is just for demonstration purposes only. In no way am I recommending that you use the exact same equipment. This equipment is just for discussion purposes only. So the first thing you're going to need as a professional disc jockey is speakers. Obviously, if you're going to become a club DJ, then you won't need speakers because most clubs will have the speakers already in-house. So as you can see here, I have two speakers and they're quite different from each other. The main difference being that this is a professional DJ speaker, this is a home stereo speaker. When you're DJing, you should never use a home stereo speaker. It has different wiring inside. As you can see with the home stereo one, it has a high and mid-range adjustment right here, and this doesn't have that sort of thing here. The other thing you can tell the difference is that this has a felt-like coating all around the outer edge and here on the DJ speaker. With the home stereo speaker, obviously it's wood grain cabinet. If you ever try and take this out on the road, this is going to get all scratched up. This is going to be protective. It has the protective corners on it as well. The next major difference is that the DJ speaker has a wire mesh protecting the subwoofer and the home stereo speaker does not. This membrane on the subwoofer could get punctured really easily if you don't have some sort of protection over top of the subwoofer. The last difference is on the back of the speakers, where the DJ speaker takes a 1/4-inch connector with a heavier gauge speaker wire, and the home stereo speaker will take thinner speaker wire with the bare ends going into the connectors in here. So there's two types of speakers you can buy, passive and active. Active speakers already have the amplifier built right into them, and passive speakers don't. This one I have here is a passive speaker, does not have the amplifier built into it. The disadvantage to the passive speakers are that you're carrying three pieces of equipment, the two speakers and the amplifier. With the active speakers, you're only carrying the 2 pieces of equipment. The disadvantage to active speakers are that they might be a little bit heavier than passive speakers. The other thing is that you're going to have 2 cords coming out of the active speakers than you will the passive speakers. With the passive speakers, you're only having the main cord, your speaker wire, coming from your amplifier into the back of the speaker. With active speakers, you're having 2 cords come out, one from your mixer and one is the electrical, because it does have the amplifier already built right into it. The other disadvantage is that if say your speaker blows when you have active speakers, then both are out of service, the amplifier and the speaker. Also with upgrading, if you want to upgrade, then you have to upgrade both. If I want to upgrade my passive speakers, then I just have to look for a new set of speakers. I don't have to look for an upgrade on my amplifier as well. So, this is a passive speaker. This is a floor mounted speaker. What that means is that this speaker does not have a hole or a bracket on the bottom of it. You can buy speakers that have the bracket and the hole on the bottom, and they will fit into a speaker stand like this, and when you mount them on the speaker stand, you raise them up. Now, the disadvantage to the floor mounted ones is that when they sit on the floor, the sound is going to travel along the floor. So if you have a lot of people, the sound might get lost. But with the pole mounted ones, you could raise them up and the sound will travel. If you have a long hall, the sound will travel to the back of the hall. So with this speaker, we have the two high speakers, the mid-range, and the subwoofer. And the subwoofer is protected by the grill, as I said. This is an older type speaker. This is covered in the felt, as I was explaining a moment ago. Nowadays you can buy speakers that are covered in a harder type vinyl, like my CD case. The disadvantage to these ones is that if you ever get a rip in them, then you have to patch them. Well, luckily you can buy rolls of the felt, and then you can just cut the size of the felt that you need and use construction glue and patch the tear in the speaker itself. So it has the protective corners that I've already talked about, and on the side it has the handles for carrying the speakers. This is a 150 watt speaker. I certainly wouldn't go any lower than that. When you're doing crowds of 100, 200, 300 people, this is about a perfect size, if not a little bit better. I've seen so many DJs that think that bigger is better for some reason. Bigger is not always better. You can always buy a compact size speaker that has a lot of power to it. If you're going to become a club DJ, then the only time you want to buy speakers is for your booth. Usually in clubs, the speakers are mounted really high up on the ceiling and farther away. This could cause you a problem when you're trying to beat match because of the delay. Having a booth monitor will help you greatly when you're trying to beat match or scratch with your music. So here I have my 2 home stereo speakers with me just to compare sizes for you. I wouldn't go any smaller than this one, and I wouldn't go any larger than this one. When using a booth monitor, I would actually use a speaker kind of in between these 2. Okay, so as I said a few moments ago, if you're going to buy passive speakers, then you're going to want to buy a separate amplifier. So I have 2 amplifiers here just for comparison again. So I have your home stereo amplifier and your professional DJ amplifier. There's 3 major differences here. Your home stereo amplifier has what's called a radio tuner built into it. Your professional DJ amplifier does not have a radio tuner. Obviously when you're doing gigs, you're not going to need to play the radio at all. The second difference is the home stereo amplifier vents from the top of it. There's a vent on the top here, and the heat comes out of those vents from the top. In your professional DJ amplifier, your vents are on the sides, so the heat will vent throughout the sides. The other major difference is the plugins on the back of the amplifiers. A professional DJ amplifier would not have all these connections on the back like the home stereo one does. These connections would be on your mixer. Now the reason you don't want to use a home stereo amplifier when you DJ is because the home stereo amplifier will heat up a lot more than the professional amplifier. Now wattage for wattage, power for power, they both will do the job, but the home stereo amplifier will heat up more, and after playing it for 5 or 6 or 7 hours, then it'll cut out. And the last thing you want to do is have your music cut out right in the middle of a gig. One thing you're going to want to have on the front of your amplifier for sure is a peak light. A peak light is going to show you when the amplifier is being driven too hard. Now let's talk about wattage. This amplifier I have here is a 400 watt amp. The speakers I showed you a moment ago was 150 watts. Now this is total 400, so that would be 200 for the left side and 200 for the right side. You don't want to have speakers that are too high of a wattage over what the amplifier is. That's because you're going to stress out your amplifier too much. If you buy a 1000 watt amplifier and have a 500 watt speaker, so that means you would have 500 for the left and 500 for the right. That means you would be matching the wattage of your amplifier to the wattage of your speakers. Now if you say you want to match it, you want a 1000 watt amplifier and 1000 watt speakers, well, it's like I said, it's a 1000 watt amplifier, so that means 500 for one side and 500 for the other side. That means you're only driving 500 watts of power into a 1000 watt speaker. That means you're stressing your amplifier out too much. So you want to have the amplifier about the same, if not a little bit more than what the speakers are. So if you buy a 1000 watt amp, that's 500 a side. So it's recommended that you buy 400, 450 or 500 watt speakers. I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining this stuff because it gets really complicated. So if you want to know more about wattage or ohms or RMS or that kind of stuff, go to Google and type in wattage of amplifier versus speakers, and you'll learn all about that kind of thing there. Now let's talk about EQs. EQ is short for equalizer. Equalizers do what just the name implies, is equalizes the sound in music. This is a piece of equipment that more than likely you won't need. That's because digital software already has equalizers built into it, and if you're using a mixer with turntables or CD players, it already has an equalizer built into that as well. So this here is an equalizer. This is a 10-band equalizer. That means there's 10 adjustments for the left side and 10 adjustments for the right side. So as you go down from left to right, there's the lower bass notes. Then as you get to the medium notes here, and then to the high notes. Now, as you can see, these are both set left and right exactly the same. The only difference would be when you're using these to set it differently would be if the speakers are in different parts of the room and they need a different sound tone too, depending on where in the room they are. Good piece of equipment, but you more than likely won't need it. Okay, next is mixers. I have a very old mixer here. This is actually a mixer built together with an amplifier, but again, this is only for demonstration purposes. So mixers usually come in 2 or more channels. What a channel is an input of the device of the music that you want to play. So for example, on this mixer, this would be channel 1 for phono, this would be channel 2 for phono. Mixers come in 2, 4, 6 and above. If you get into the 16 or 20 channel mixers, then that's a studio setting, where if you're in a band and mixing music, that's fine, but usually DJs aren't going to need any more than 4 channels. Now if you look at mixers, so 4 channels would obviously be this here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes a 4-channel mixer will only have 2 of these, but they'll have a switch above them here. And what the switch is one, if the switch is one way, it'll be phono, and if the switch is flicked the other way, it'll be for CD. So you can either have the 4 of them side by side, phono, phono, CD, CD, or you can have the switch just above the 2 where it's phono and CD, but you just have to be conscientious of flicking that switch depending on which media you're playing if you're using a combination of both. Okay, so this is a very basic mixer that that I used many years ago, and it's hard to explain the mixers of today on it because this one doesn't have a lot of features on it. So if you're just starting out as a DJ, you might want to use something like this because it's color coded and it's easy to remember. So you've got your 2 faders for your microphone, your 2 faders for your phono, your 2 faders for your tape deck, and your master in yellow. So what is a channel fader? A channel fader is basically what rises and lowers the music. So if you have it way up the top here like this, then the music's going to be loud, and as you bring it down, it lowers the music. If you have both up at the same time, both songs are going to play. If you're playing a turntable 1 over here and turntable over here, and both sliders are up, you're going to hear both songs at the same time. So you're going to want to have one down and one up at any given time like that. This is the crossfader over here. The mixers of today usually have just a single knob that goes back and forth here. As I said, this is an older mixer, so it has a double. Up here we have a talkover switch. What a talkover switch does is that as soon as you press it down, it lowers the music. Then it enables you to talk in the microphone and make special announcements. And that's just a different way than if you have the channel fader up for the microphone and the music up as well, and you have to lower the channel fader for the music. Again, here, in this corner here is the microphone jack. Every mixer should have a microphone jack if you want to do any sort of cueing whatsoever. These are the cueing knobs here. This is the channel fader for the microphone. Most mixers of today will have a knob rather than a channel fader for the microphone. Up here is the VU meters. The VU meters basically tell you the level of the music and if the music's going to be too loud and distorted. So in this case, the needles will go to the right, and if they go into the red, the music's too loud and too distorted, so you would have to bring your channel fader down. The mixers of today, they use LEDs, and LEDs will lights that flicker upwards, and they'll go either green or red, and if they go into the red, then that means again the music's too loud and too distorted. The EQs on the mixers today are much more advanced than this. They'll have 3-4 adjustments as far as high, mids, and lows go. This has just basically your low and your high, your bass and your treble. So again, this is just a very basic mixer. You'll have to shop around and take a look exactly what's going to suit your needs as far as a mixer goes. This is another mixer I had used, and it's called the MTX Sound Craftsman. As you can see, it's a 4-channel mixer with a 6-band equalizer at the top and a sampling unit at the bottom right-hand corner. There are many types of mixers on the marketplace, and as you can see, they all have different layouts and features. Okay, so now let's talk about turntables. A turntable is basically what you play your LPs and your 45s on. I have an older Pioneer turntable here, and it's kind of hard to describe to you the features that you can get on the newer turntables of today, because this older turntable doesn't have a lot of features. Basically, there's 2 types of turntables. There's direct drive and there's belt drive. When you're a DJ, you should buy a direct drive turntable. Direct drive means that the gears are directly connected to the spindle under the platter in the turntable. A belt drive has a belt that goes around the platter underneath. The belts can break really easily, and they can stretch, and they're basically not a good turntable if you're going to try and do scratching or beat matching. So buy a direct drive turntable, and the most important feature you should look for when you're trying to do beat matching or other things like that is a pitch control. What a pitch control is basically a slider that's going to be on the side of the turntable, and when you raise that, it's going to speed up the platter, and when you lower that, it's going to slow down the platter. That's the most useful feature for when you're trying to beat match. Other features you might want to look for is a button that raises or lowers the tone arm rather than you grabbing the tone arm yourself and pulling it over. Again, it's hard to explain a lot of features on today's turntables without actually having one in front of me here. So do your research, see what's going to be best for you. A good feature also now is, see, these wires are directly attached internally to this turntable. Turntables of today now have the phono plugs where you can plug them into the back of the turntable and then into your mixer. That's beneficial because if anything gets caught on this wire here, on this one, it's going to take this turntable off the table. If you buy the other kind where the phono plugs will plug into the back of the turntable, and then something gets caught on that wire, then the plugs are going to come out rather than this turntable go flying off the table. So that's it for turntables for now. As I said, check online, check out DJ shows or talk to other DJs and see what type of turntables are the best. I know years ago Technics 1200s were the standards in the DJ business, but it's really hard to get a hold of a Technics 1200 now. Very heavy turntables, very versatile to use, but they're very hard to get a hold of now. When playing records, it's important to set up your turntable properly. The weight of the tone arm for the stylus to sit on the record is very important, especially when you're beat matching or trying to scratch with your records. There's a way to change the weight of the tone arm, and that's with the knob on the back of the tone arm. I wanted to show you how to adjust this, but because of my visual limitations, I'm unable to do that. However, you can go to youtube.com and in the search box of that website, type in how to adjust a turntable tone arm. If you plan on playing records, you might want to invest in a slip mat. A slip mat is ideal for club or mobile DJs that want to do beat matching or scratching. When you hold the top of a record, the slip mat will slip underneath the record, enabling the platter of the turntable to still turn. As you can see, these slip mats come in different colors and varieties. If you've decided that playing CDs is the right option for you, then having a CD player with the right features is very important. This is a home stereo CD player, but it just doesn't have the features and durability that you're going to need when DJing. Here are just some of the professional DJ CD players that are on the marketplace today. Some of these manufacturers of these CD players include Numark, Gemini, Pioneer, Denon, Reloop, and more. If you've decided to play digital music, then you should buy a DJ controller like this. A DJ controller will connect directly into your laptop and has a more hands-on approach rather than using your computer's keyboard or mouse. The controls will essentially look the same and work the same as what your DJing software does. This DJ controller is made by Numark and it's called the Mixtrack Pro 2. It's a very popular DJ controller because of its price point. Now most DJ controllers you see on the marketplace today have a similar layout to this. Some are smaller, some are bigger, some have the same features, some don't. Some have more knobs here, some have more keypad effects here. Some of the keypads you'll see on some of them are down below the jog wheels. Some have microphone hookups and some don't. So you'll have to check out exactly what you're buying as far as features go. Just to describe this one, basically, it has the two jog wheels for the A and B deck here. The jog wheels are basically purposed for if you're doing beat matching, so you can slow down or speed up the music. Also for scratching if you're scratching your music as well. So on either corner you have your pitch bends and your pitch sliders. And you have your effects buttons here on both sides. And you have your keypad effects here, so you can do looping or sampling or cueing effects on these pads here on either side. In the middle, for each side, you have your bass and middle and treble, bass, middle, treble. And you have a button to browse your folders on your computer. You have your cueing gain here. You have your cueing volume and mix here. And then you have your master control slider in the middle, your fader A and your fader B and your crossfader. And below each jog wheel you have your sync button, your cue button, your play button, and your stutter buttons on both of these here. On the back, it's going to have a phono output to go to your amplifier or speakers, and it's going to have the USB output to your laptop. And on the side over here, it's going to have your earphones input and your microphone input. As you can see, these controllers have different sizes, layouts, and features. Be sure to do some research before buying a controller so that you get the right one for you. Now I'll talk about digital DJing software programs. There are many DJing programs on the marketplace today, and I'll talk about 4 of the most popular ones right now. This software is called Serato DJ Intro. This software came free with my Numark Mixtrack Pro 2 controller. So when I installed it here, it looks like a very simple program. I don't see any kind of sampling or effects, which is a good thing because I'm not really into that sort of thing. As you can see here in the middle, it's got the filing system, so you can easily go through your folders of songs, and it works the same way as other software where you drag the song to either deck and it'll load in. As you see, on the one on the left has already been loaded in, and the one on the right is blank. So apparently this is good for club DJs. It's probably good for beat matching. I've never tried the software before. Apparently you can upgrade to Serato DJ, which is the next level up, and apparently there's some other versions of Serato, but Serato DJ is supposed to be the best. And I did download a trial version, and it didn't seem to want to work. I hooked up my controller like my controller's hooked up to this one, and it didn't seem to want to show the turntables like it shows here. So I don't know what's going on with that, so I'm not really impressed with the program at all. Tried the other programs, and I like the feel of them a lot more than this one. Don't really like the simplicity of this or the feel whatsoever. This software here is called Virtual DJ. Now, as you can see at first glance, it's nice and big and spaced out, very clean looking. And at first I didn't like this software, but it's kind of growing on me now. I'd certainly use it in a DJ environment if I had to. Compared to Traktor and Decadence, it's comparable. It does a good job. It's good for some features of what some DJs like to do with it. So I know of a lot of DJs that do actually use it. So at first glance here, as I said, nice and clean look. We'll start at the top here. The thing I like here too, at the very top left here, is where it says CPU, and that's showing what my CPU usage is right now. That might come in handy. In the middle here, it'll show the lights for deck A and deck B. That's kind of handy too. The deck A, as you see down here where the play button is flashing, that means it's paused right now on deck A, and it's in blue. And if you go over to deck B, the play button is flashing because it's paused, and that's flashing red. So the same as up here, you have your blue lights for A and your red lights for B. So that kind of keeps track of things for you when you're playing music together. Up at the top, just off to the right here, is the time. So that now you'll know when I'm recording this video. Further to the right, you have a configure button, so when that comes up, it'll help you set up different things about Virtual DJ. And of course, in your far right corner, you have minimize, maximize, and exit. So along here, you have the display for when the music's playing, and it will show both songs when they are playing. You also have the display for both decks A and B, so just below the song names here, and on A and on B. So again, this one will be in blue, and this one over here will be in red. Okay, so same kind of system as the other software packages, where you drag a song to either deck and they'll load. It's as simple as that. So I have a song loaded in deck A, which is 122.03 beats per minute, and deck B 118 beats per minute. So below the beats per minute, you have your hot cues 1, 2, and 3. You have your time remaining,
then your display, as I said. Then below that you have your effects, so you can load any of your effects here. Right now it says break, so I can change it to backspin like that, or back to break. And to the right of that we have samples. So right now it says siren. I could change it to saxo, or I could put push, and then there's a volume control for that as well. Now right now I don't have a controller hooked up for this program, so I'm just using my mouse to control the knobs like this. It's kind of tricky getting used to doing that if you don't have a controller. As I was telling you earlier, using a controller is a little more hands-on and a little more easy to use rather than trying to follow your mouse around the screen. So nice big platters. This is good for scratching, because see, the line will move as you go around here, and as I'm moving this table as well, you see the display going up here. So if I was to move this one, see, it would be red. The red display would go up here like that. So off to the right of the platter on either side you have your pitch slider. Below that you have your pitch bend. To the left of that, as I said, underneath the platter is your cue and your pause, your play, and your sync buttons. Now if we go farther left again, you have your loops. So you could do 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32, and you see they'll light up depending on how many times you push those arrows to the left or to the right. So your loops in and your loops out here. And so now just above the song list you'll have your browser button. That means we're in the browser list. So on the bottom half of the screen on the left you have your filing system, and on the right you have your song list, so depending on which folder I was in. Okay, so I do happen to have a Serato folder there. There's nothing in it right now. Okay, back to the buttons at the top here. We can go into the sample tab, and the first 6 are taken up. The right 6 are not, so you can add whatever you want into those ones, and then you can change the volume on either one of these given samples. The next tab is effects, so same kind of thing. You can add whatever effects you want to these. And in the record tab, obviously this is for recording. It says start recording, and you can make a recording for a promotional CD or a set where you might be away from your turntables or something of that nature. You know, same thing. Deck B is laid out the same as Deck A. You have your sliders in the middle here. This is Deck A slider, Deck B slider, and your crossfader underneath. And each deck also has your EQ knobs, so you have your low, your mid, and your highs, and your gain. And this is your master and your cue. So very good looking program. I would certainly use it, and you should maybe check it out, download a trial version, and see if it's the features and compatibility that you need for your DJing. This software is made by a company called ImageLine, and the program is called Decadence. Now, from opening it up and looking at it, you can obviously see that it's a very simple interface. The decks being at the top and the filing system at the bottom here, much like the other programs. However, what you won't see, like you will see in Virtual DJ and Serato, is you won't see any turntable platters on either of the decks here. So if you want to scratch just by using the mouse, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to do it with a controller. Okay, so I'll describe the software to you briefly. At the top left corner here you have a number 2 highlighted, and that means basically that there's 2 decks, Deck A, Deck B. Beside it has a number 4 grayed out, and if I click on it, it becomes highlighted, and now you have Deck A, Deck B, Deck C, Deck D. I've always used it thus far in 2-deck mode. The button beside those two is it opens your settings. So you have audio setup, global settings, layout, file management, timecode, control CD generator, VST plugins, remote MIDI controller, MIDI scripting, registration, about, and help. Okay, so that's for all your settings. And the next one is enables and disables full screen mode. This is a button if you want to do recording, if you want to do a pre-mix, and you can record with that button. And this one is snaps the closest beat for cues and loops. Thus far I have not used that button. The middle section here I'll go over in just a moment. We'll go over to the right first, and you have your cue volume, which is self-explanatory. Obviously when you're queuing up music in your headphones, you're going to use this volume knob here. Queuing mix, and that means if you're queuing up a song in your headphones and you want to hear what's happening in your speakers as well, then you could adjust that and you'll hear both songs at once. Your main level, that's self-explanatory, and of course you've got your peak metering here. So if I was to play a song, you'll see the lights, you'll see those lights go there. Okay, so now we're going to get to the middle section before I talk about each deck here. The middle section is where your channel faders are. So channel A and your deck B. Deck A and deck B both have an equalizer as well. So you have your low, medium, and highs, and you have a queuing filter here. Below the channel faders you have your crossfader, and the neat thing about the channel fader is that if, say, I click on B here, you'll see that that channel fader slowly goes over. So that's like an automatic fade or crossfade option for you. Okay, so as the song plays, as you've seen a moment ago, just like with the peak meter, also there's meters here that will go up depending on how loud the music is. The second button over that will highlight once I click on it says effects, and you'll see here you'll be able to load 3 at one time. So in this case I have flanger, phaser, and delay. If I click on the arrow beside each of them, they're all going to say the same thing, and you can load whichever one in. So delay, flanger, phaser, low pass, high pass, auto pan, trans, bit crusher, distortion, and reverb. Okay, now these effects are only going to work if you press this power button here for each one. And see, it highlights blue when it powers on, grays out when the power's off. Above each one so the effect would take effect for low, medium, and high on all of these. If I was to turn off medium, then it would only take effect for the low notes and the high notes, not the medium. So that's for deck A and deck B. Next one over, this is for loading samples. So you can record samples, you can listen to samples in here, listen to loop samples in your monitor, or you can have samples in each one of these pads here, much like on your controller. So if I right click on this first one, you'll see load sample, save sample, rename, clear, and one shot is checked here. I'll explain that in a moment. Trigger, retrigger, and loop. So what it means by one shot is that if you click on that, it'll just play once. If you select loop and you press it, it'll just loop over and over and over and over. The next one at the top is your waveforms again. So this is typically a setting that DJs use sometimes in clubs where they can beat match more easily, and they'll see exactly when the beats match up per this middle line right here. This one here, this is for VST plugins, which I've never used. Kind of hard to explain right now, but basically same thing. It will only work if you have your power on, power off, and you have stuff loaded in here. The last one is for this is like presets that are already within the software. So you have scratch and you have repeat. Just let me raise one of the volumes on this so I can show you what I mean. So if I do this, you'll hear the effect there. And if I press on this one or this, so quite neat effects that are built all into this. Now on deck A and deck B, you can have things loaded on either side. So on deck A here, I have Q loaded here, and I have tempo loaded here. Now you can have nothing loaded here and nothing loaded here, or a combination of all four things. So if I go to the left side, and one is check marked because as I said, Q is loaded there now, but if I have 4 put there, so now it has all 4 things here now. So I have Q, EQ, EQ, and EQ. Obviously I don't want 3 EQ things here, so I could right click and I can select grid. I can right click this one and select let's say loop, right click, or leave this one on EQ. Okay, so I'll go through these. Queuing basically means that you can set cue points within the song, and whichever one you click on, it will go to that cue point, meaning that point in the song that you've preset yourself. Grid is basically if you want to move the waveform, it's not lining up in your software properly, and you move the waveform either left or right. Looping is obviously the number of beats you want per bar to loop, and that'll just keep playing over and over per how you have it set up. And EQ is basically what we had over here in the middle, is your low, medium, and high. Now if I was to change that particular one, I could have DVS, which is kind of hard to explain as well. You see little picture of turntables in a computer there. I'll leave that for now. Smart knob, again, something hard to explain right now. We did EQ, volume, so that's just basic volume control. So as I said, you can have 1, 2, 3, or 4 things listed on both the left side and the right side. So now I put it back to the 1 on the left side, still have 1 on the right side. If I was to do that, go down to right side, select 4. Oh, it didn't work that time. Let's do that again. Let's put 3. So now there's 3 things. Oh, it did on the left side. So left side will go back to 1, and right side will go back to 1 again. Okay, so that's going to be the same for deck B as well. Exact same options. Okay. Bottom half of the screen is your filing system. Very easy to read, and you have your library. So right now I have only 5 songs in the library. When you left click once, you'll see artists and albums and genres. So if I was to have more stuff in here, like country music and big band music and whatever, you'd see it under genres, and you'd see how many songs of each within a bracket like it is here. So I have 1 genre of music right now within those 5 songs. iTunes, that's for the song collection you have that you have within iTunes. Auto mix is if you load some songs in here, there's a button that you press here that says auto mix, and you can walk away and it will mix your music from one song to another continuously depending on how many songs you have in here. However, it will only mix it if it has BPMs listed within the tag of the music. Playlists, you can drag songs over and create a playlist. So if you can't remember exactly what songs you want to play, you can preload them in here and they'll be all listed for you. And Smart Playlist is kind of the same thing, only you have your top 25 rated, your top 25 most played, recently added, recently played things in here. So you have your album art down at the bottom here, and I quite like the program. It's not too hard to learn. It's simplistic, not too simplistic, but it's a good operational program, and I think you'll like it. You should download a demo and give it a try. This software is called Traktor, and it's made by Native Instruments. This software is very popular amongst a lot of DJs because a lot of controllers are compatible with this software. So as you can see, it's a very well laid out program. Right now I have it set up as a 2-deck layout, but you can also set it up as a 4-deck layout. You'll also notice at first glance that there's no platters on deck A or B like there is in Serato DJ or Virtual DJ. Therefore, if you want to do scratching or ease of beat matching, you should hook up a controller to the software in order to do that. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with the software, but I will go over a few things here to show you some of the features of the software. Above both deck A and B, you can select a number of effects. So there is a box where you can have 3 loaded at once. Right now it says no effect in all 3 of these, and to the right there's 3 knobs that are grayed out, they're inactive because all these say no effect. So if I click on the arrow beside each one of these three boxes, you'll see the exact same effects list come up. So if I go back to the first box and I select reverb, then the first knob is available for reverb, and I can turn the knob and set my volume for that particular reverb effect. The reverb effect is only going to take effect if I have this on button illuminated like this. If I click on that, I can click it off, click it on, and if you turn the knob, you'll see the lighting on the edge of the knob increases and decreases, which will help you at first glance know exactly where the knob is set to. In the middle section, I don't know a lot about these features because I just haven't used the software enough, so you'll have to try it out for yourself and see if there's features there that's going to be suitable to your needs. Above Deck B, the same effects that you can select, and if I go to the top right corner, there's a magnifying glass that if I click on that, it will shrink down the decks and bring up the song list, and if I click on it again, it'll bring the screen back to normal. If I click on the second button, it'll bring up your settings box. So this is all the software settings that you can make for the layout and the controller in this box, depending on what your needs are for the use of the software. If I click on the third button, nothing happens. Again, it must be a feature I'm not particularly familiar with at the present time. And the fourth one is just basically for minimizing and maximizing the software on your computer screen. So right now I do have a song loaded into Deck A. At the top of the Deck A box, I have the song listed, the song title, and the group name underneath that. And to the right, I have the time remaining and the total time of the song. To the right of the times, I have the beats per minute listed, which right now it's listed at 130.29. This is your main waveform window, and underneath is your full song waveform. So at first glance, this will tell you exactly the high and low points of the song. Below that will be the looping amounts that you can set to, and below that is the cue points that you can also set as well, 1 through 4 and 5 through 8. So if I put the song on play, you won't actually hear the song right now because it is copyrighted, so I don't want to have the sound on, but you will see the waveform going, and you will see the LEDs on the channel fader go up and down as well. Beside Deck A on the right hand side is the pitch fader. So if I go this way or this way, you'll also see a light in the middle go up or down, and that will also help you at first glance quickly know exactly where the fader is. If I click on the minus or plus sign here, it will do the same thing. It'll bring the pitch fader up or down. So Deck B is going to be laid out exactly the same as Deck A. Again, your pitch fader on the right hand side of Deck B. In the middle, you'll see your channel faders, your channel fader for Deck A, your channel fader for Deck B, and your equalizer knobs, so your low, medium, and high. Again, if you turn the knobs, you'll see the edge lighting on the knobs change, and that will help you at first glance as well quickly know exactly where the knobs are set to. Below the channel faders is your crossfader, and again, as you bring the channel fader one way or another, you'll see the line in the middle light up, so at quick glance you'll know exactly where the channel fader is set to. The bottom of the screen is your song listing, and so you have the columns of the number of the song, the cover art, the title, the artist, the release, the beats per minute, the rating, the import date, the comment, and the genre of the music. So you can have as many columns set here as you want, depending on what your needs are. You could just have the title and artist, or you can have the title and comment, or what's ever going to suit your needs listed here. Above these are like quick links, so you have history, your track collection, your samples, all your tracks, all your remix sets, and then there's other points that you can set in here, your demo tracks, your demo mixes, etc., etc. On the left hand side is all your folders. depending on which folder you're in, you can see, like for example, you can see all your genres in this one. So if you double click it, it will show you all your genres in here. So as I said, I've only used this program a couple times, but I've been very happy with its functionality. You should download a trial version and try it out first and see if it has the features that are going to be suitable to you.
When you are DJing, you need a reliable way for queuing up your music. Queuing up your music means that when you're playing one song through your speakers, then you need a way to set up the next song that's going to follow that. The way to do this is with a reliable set of headphones. Now there's dozens and dozens of headphones for sale on the marketplace, but I'm here to tell you about some of the advantages and disadvantages to some of them. So the first option you would need would be something like this. Now this is a full coverage headphone. This has big cups on both ears. It actually even says right R for this one and L for this one, left and right. But I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to switch it depending on which way you want the cord to hang down. So again, well padded ear cups. The top is very, very well padded as well. It goes over your head. And the good thing about it is that it has a long twisty extension cord on it. At the very end of the cord has a 1/4 inch jack. Now if your system is set up so that it doesn't accept 1/4 inch connection, then you need to buy what's called an adapter if you have a connection that's only for a mini jack. So this has a female 1/4 inch connector, and it has a male mini jack. So the female 1/4 inch would go over your male 1/4 inch and click into place like that, and then now you have your connection for your mini jack. The next type of headphones, this is my preference right now, and this is a headphone made by Bose. Bose is synonymous for being a very clear type of headphones as far as sound goes. Now again, the cups are a little bit smaller than the first headphones I showed you, but still very, very comfortable headphones. Well padded ear cups. The headband does expand and has clicking spots for your adjustment. It has a thinner headband here, but it is still well padded. And the cord is just a flat cord, and at the end of the cord there's a mini jack. So again, if your system is not set up for mini jack connection, then you need this type of adapter. Now this type of adapter is a female mini jack to male 1/4 inch. So the female mini jack would go onto your male mini jack and click into place like that, and then you have your 1/4 inch connection. The third type of headphones is this. Now as you can see, this is a headphone and microphone combination. So the microphone has a padded end on it, and it will go from either this way to this way. So depending on if you want to wear it this way, or if you want to wear the cup on your right ear like this. So the thing I don't like about this is that the cup for the headphone is very, very small. It seems to be well padded, but I find it very, very small. The other side is just a flat piece that goes over top of your ear. It has a flat piece of padding on it. It's not much padding at all. The headband, it's just a flat plastic piece. There's no padding on it whatsoever. And the long cord is just flat, but it does have 2 jacks, and one's for headphones and one's for earphones. So again, if you don't want to use the microphone and you just want to use the headphones, then you can do so, or vice versa. Again, they're both mini jacks, so if your system's not set up for mini jack, you need this connection again here, which is your adapter, and you can plug it in like that, and now you have your 1/4 inch connection. These headphones are made by Cyber Acoustic. The next set is similar. It's a microphone and headphone combination. However, the microphone only goes one way. If I'm pushing this, it won't go that way. It only wants to go this way. So you have to wear it like that, with the cord hanging down from your left ear. Again, the cups are very well padded. At least there's 2 cups this time, and they're very well padded, but they're very small still, very small cups still. The headband, this one is padded. It's still thin, but it is at least padded on the underside this time. And it has, yes, it does have the clicking adjustments here. And a long flat cable, and in the middle of the cable you have a volume control. And at the end of the cable you have a USB connection. I find that setting up a USB connection for this type of headphone combo is quite difficult, but there obviously is a way to do it, else they wouldn't sell these. Now the last one is made by Koss, and this is typically the type of headphones you would see someone wearing when they're on the subway and they have an MP3 player or their CD Walkman with them. So this is meant to be worn behind the head, exactly like I'm holding them like that. Unlike the other ones where they're meant to go on top, this is to go behind your head. So it's just a very thin plastic piece that's going to sit behind your head. This loop part here is going to sit over your ear, and then the flat piece of the cups, well, they're not really cups, but they're just a flat piece that would sit over your ears. So that's the only thing. If you're worried about a sound escaping, then you need the cup version. If you're not so worried about that, then you can get these flat ones. A long cable again, and at the end of the cable is once again a mini jack. So again, if you don't have a connection for a mini jack, you need this adapter to convert to 1/4 inch. Again, it just snaps on, and now you have your connection for 1/4 inch. I would only use this again as a backup. Throw this in your box or your briefcase, and if your other headphones fail on you, then at least you have a backup. So there are some options for you, disadvantages and advantages of headphones. Shop the marketplace, see what features are going to be best for you and the type of environment that you're going to be DJing in, and just look for the right features that's going to be right for you. Okay, so just some clarification about connectors. First, you'll hear what's referred to male and female. So obviously what protrudes is the male, and what a plug would go into, being a hole, would be the female. Okay, so this is male, this is female, they connect like that. Okay, the next thing is you'll refer to this as a 1/4 inch jack. Now that would mean that if you wrap a string around this and then take it off and lay the string out and measure it on a ruler, it would measure out to a 1/4 inch circumference. Much like this bolt here is a 1/4 inch. So I could do the same thing with this bolt. I could put it in to the 1/4 inch female here and see it fits right in perfectly, the same as the connector does. This is imperial measurement. It's just like this one here. This is a thicker bolt, this is 3/8, but this is only 1/4 inch. There are different types of 1/4 inch jacks as well. The one on the left with 2 rings on the shaft is a stereo connector, and the one on the right with only 1 ring on the shaft is a mono connector. These type of connectors are called XLR. The one on the left is a female, and the one on the right is a male. These connectors are commonly used for amplifiers, mixers, speakers, and microphones. Next thing you'll need as a DJ is a reliable microphone. And microphone will allow you to make announcements. There's 2 types of microphones, corded and cordless. This is a cordless microphone. As you can see, there's no cord on the end of it. The wireless signal is picked up from a tabletop transmitter. The transmitter is plugged in via 1/4 inch jack to your mixer. On the transmitter you have the power button, you have a VU meter, and you have a volume control. You also on the back have an antenna so that if you're going around the room you still get that wireless signal. The microphone itself is a dynamic mic. You should always buy a dynamic mic when you're being a DJ. Now, as I unscrew this, you'll see that inside there's 4 AA batteries. And that is what controls the power for the microphone. On the end of the microphone, you'll have a low battery indicator and you'll have an on-off switch. So as I said, buy a dynamic microphone, buy a cordless microphone, and that will give you the best flexibility as far as being an MC or being a DJ goes. Now I'm going to talk to you about road cases. Road cases are important to protect each individual piece of equipment that you're going to take out onto the road. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either buy your road cases with different sizes from different websites and different manufacturers, or you can make them yourself. Star Performances always make their own road cases to take out onto the road. So this was the first one here, and what we did, again, it's got the felt covering on it, and as I said earlier, if you're good at woodworking, you can build cases like this. It's not a real hard challenge to do. And then when you want to cover it, you can buy rolls of this felt and use construction glue on the wood to cover the road case. Now what we did is we have a latch here that I'm going to undo, and we had the door come off like this. So I've got a tape deck in here and a CD player in here just to use as an example. So this is what's called custom fitting to your equipment. So the tape deck fits exactly in there like that. It's not going to move around at all from side to side or up and down. And the same with the CD player. The CD player has movement up and down like this, but as long as you carry this case upright, it's not gonna fall and damage the CD player. Then what we had is we had a drawer with a mixer that pulled out from here. So with this particular case, we've got the handles on the sides, on either side, and we've got plugs down here, electrical plugs. And then we had a main plug in the back, so we just plugged in our extension cord to the electrical and took off the door, and away we went. So now I'm going to pause the film and I'm going to show you some other custom fitted road cases. So now what we have here is a case that carries 45 records. So again, you have the latches on the front, which undo like this, and the lid comes up and it comes off the hinges at the back. And now these are all the 45s with a divider in the middle. So what we did is we had all the fast songs on this side and all the slow songs on this side. So if you're using 45 records, this is the ideal kind of case that you need to carry your stuff in. I do have one more, and this is the second 45 case here. As you can see, this one's a little bit smaller, and it's still felt covered, still has the handle on top, still has the latch on the front, but the only difference is with this one is I don't have the protective corner covers on this one. So again, undoing the latch, removing the hinges, the lid right off the hinges, and there's your 45s again. So again, we had fast ones on this side and slow 45s on this side. Now this road case here we used to call the coffin because of its sheer size. This actual road case we didn't build, we bought this one this way. So I'll show you what's inside. Again, the handle on the front and the latch is here. And the lid will come off the hinges again, like that. And there you go, you have turntable 1 and turntable 2. There used to be a mixer in the middle here, and then there's jacks here to hook your phono up to go down to your amplifier. Now with the way DJs use turntables now, they normally turn them sideways now, which I'll show you later in the setup section. So you'd have to get a road case built around that particular design. As I said, building of a road case isn't hard, and if you design it properly, you can achieve what you need it for. Now here's another one we built, and you've seen this piece of equipment earlier. Again, the latch is here, the handle on the front, the lid will lift off and come off the hinges at the back, and there is that mixer built-in amplifier that I showed you earlier. Now here's the other amplifier that I showed you earlier, and we had to have a way to access both sides of the amplifier, both the front and the back. So what we did, we have the handle here for carrying the case. Then we have the latches here. So now this is going to be removed like that, and that's going to expose the back of the amplifier there. Then we'll do the same for the other side. Remove the latch, take it off the hinge, and that exposes the front of the amplifier. So then we lay it down under the table just like that, and then we can access the volume controls at the front. We can access the speakers connection at the back of it. This smaller one here holds the equalizer that I showed you earlier. So I'll just open it up, and that's the back of the equalizer there. It just sits in, and the bottom of the box there's foam, so the front of the equalizer sits on foam so it doesn't get damaged at all. And the last box here contains one of the lights we used to use. So this is called a RoboZap Intelligent Light. So we left the handle attached, the handle just folds down here. And what we did is we just put styrofoam on either side to form fit it into the box and keep it in place so it doesn't get damaged. And as you noticed, with this box, the hinges don't come off. This lid will stay on the box. I actually forgot a couple boxes, so this is the next one. And what this is, again, the lid comes off. And what this is for is to hold your CDs. So your CDs will stand up in these slots here. This will probably hold, if I remember, about 50 CDs, depending on the size of the cases. And this is the other CD case here. As you can see, it's made out of the vinyl material rather than felt. And rather than the hinges slipping right off when you tilt it right back, you've got to push it to one side and then take it off. And then there's slots in here, as opposed to the other one we had made, there's no slots. So there's the slots in here. And as you can see with these particular CDs, I've used the plastic sleeve type so that more can fit into these slots. And here's the last road case for sure. This one contains the cordless microphone. And that's all for the road case. And that's all for the road cases. In a few minutes I'll tell you how to set up some of this equipment. The rest of the things you'll need to carry as a DJ is a lot of little small accessories. A lot of little small stuff should be taken in a briefcase like this because it's much more professional than just throwing everything into a box. I'll show you what's in here, but don't be surprised what's in here because you may think that some things are really unnecessary. But I'm a bring it just in case type of person. I'm also big on health and safety. So I'll show you what's in here and you're going to be very surprised of all the little things that you can carry that are extra. So as you can see, there's a lot of things in here, but as I said, I bring a lot of stuff on a just in case basis. There's stuff in here that deals with health. So the first thing would be I have type 2 diabetes. So if you have diabetes and you feel like you're getting dizzy during the night, your blood sugar might be getting low. So I carry my meter just in case to test my blood sugar. Now if your medical doctor wants you to take insulin, like I do at a specific time of the night, then you're going to want to carry your insulin with you as well. Now if you're using a computer, I carry an extra mouse with me just in case. And what you can do is if you have a corded mouse and the cord breaks on the mouse, then you have your backup. If you have a cordless mouse, then you might want to carry some extra batteries with you. Also, I have a mild asthma as well, so I carry a puffer. And as I told you, I have a visual impairment, so I use this magnifying glass to read my lists of songs on my computer. Now in here, I have all the adapters, and I just put them in this Crown Royal bag. So you have a phono to phono adapter. You have 2 mini jacks to 1 male mini jack. You have your 1/4 inch to your mini jack. You have a female 1/4 inch to a female 1/4 inch. You have another phono, female phono to female phono. And you have your female mini jack to your 1/4 inch male jack. This here is a record brush, so if you play records, you're always going to want to keep the dust off your records. So this is a felty type material, and this is the fluid in the back here. So the fluid, you drip down in here, you put it in here, and it drips down through, and that moistens the felt ever so slightly, and then you hold this on the top of your record as the record spins, and it will clean your record off. This is a day planner, so if someone comes up to you and asks you if you're available on a specific date, then you have it all listed in here. So this has a pen for writing down your requests. This has a calculator, and again it has all the calendar stuff in here to write down all your bookings, and at the very back it has a pad of paper. Now this is a travel lint brush, opens up like this. If you're wearing a suit to weddings and whatnot, you're going to want to keep your suit lint free, so that'll go across your suit and take all the lint off your clothing. Now there's a lot of controversy on the internet of whether DJs should use earplugs or not. These are earplugs. They're a spongy material, so when you pinch them together, they'll go into your ear easily. They have a string on them to connect the left ear to the right ear. I myself, as a mobile DJ just doing weddings and parties and things like that, don't feel that you should that you really need them. If you're a club DJ, you might want to wear them because obviously the music's going to be a lot louder in a club, but the choice is up to you. Here I have raffle tickets. Now basically if you're going to do street dances or any charity event or some sort of thing, these can be used for 50-50 draws or door prizes or things like that. Just something a little extra I carry, and just in case. If you think you're not going to do that sort of thing, then don't put them in your briefcase. This is black electrical tape. This is a flashlight, mini flashlight, and if you think the power is going to go out, or you need to check on equipment underneath your table, connectors, whatnot, you always have this little flashlight. I wouldn't go for a flashlight any smaller than this. Of course, if you're going to go for something bigger than this, it takes up more room in your box or your briefcase. This is an electrical adapter, so you have your 1 male with the ground on it to your 3 females. Now again, just in case, this is a little tube. I've used a little film tube here. This is what's in here is Tylenol. So if the music starts getting to you after a while and you start getting a headache, you're going to want Tylenol with you. This is just a USB extension. So you've got your female USB to your male USB. This is just an extra cord as well, mini jack to mini jack. Package of Kleenexes, that's self-explanatory. This is an extra bulb. If you're using intelligent lighting of any kind, you should carry an extra bulb just in case one blows. This is an extra battery for my video camera, so if you're if you want to video yourself doing a gig and your battery goes dead, then you're out of luck, unless you carry, of course, an extra one. This is a little toolkit. So if you're carrying this toolkit, it enables you to fix any problems you might encounter, problems with your lighting or your amplifier or any type of equipment you have. And this is a business card holder, so if someone comes up to you and they want to ask you if you know a good photographer or a good limousine service or anything like that, then this is a holder of people you've met over the years, and it's just a little extra to have, a little information for someone in case they need to know something. Back here, again, just in case, we have Band-Aids. And on this side we have fuses, so if any type of your equipment uses fuses and the fuse blows, then you have extra fuses. Right here I have an extra SD card, just in case if you're using a camera or a video camera or a laptop that takes an SD card, you'll have this as an extra. And lastly, I have a USB key right here, just in case if you need to put something on it or already have something on it that you think you might need. In the back flaps here, I have business cards, some sheets for song suggestions that I've made up, and in the very back I have my portfolio of information for my service. So if someone comes up to you and wants to know more about your service during the evening when you're there playing a gig, then you have all this information there. So I have my brochures, I have information about my service on this side, information about my video service. I have some testimonials here from some parties I've done. Then on this side I have a blank contract, and again, in case someone likes your music and comes up and wants to book you right there and then. And behind that I have more song suggestions, and I also have a description of all the lights that I normally carry. So it's all right there if someone wants to know. So as I said, a lot of this stuff in the briefcase here you might think you absolutely don't need. You might not have asthma, you might not have diabetes, you might not get headaches, you might not do things where you need raffle tickets. So if you don't need them, don't carry them. But use a briefcase, it's much more professional looking. You're also going to want to take a box of cables to connect all your equipment together. So probably the most important thing is your speaker wire. And as you can see, this is heavier gauge speaker wire. Now what you don't want to use, definitely do not want to use a home stereo light gauge speaker wire like this. That's not going to do the job for you. Also what I carry, I connect my amplifier directly to my laptop. So I have this cable here. So on one end I have the two XLR connectors, and on the other end I have my mini jack connector. I carry this sometimes just in case. On the one end it's a double female 1/4 inch connectors, and on the other end it's a single male 1/4 inch connector. So that's if you want to hook up two microphones, or depending on the equipment you have and the scenario you have, you might need a cord like this. I also carry a cord that has the phonos on one end and the male phonos on the other end as well. And of course tape to tape all your wires down, your speaker wires. Now these cables here might differ a lot, be a lot different than what you need. So buy your equipment first and then figure out what type of connectors you need, and then put them in a box and remember to take them to your gigs with you. You also need to buy and carry something to connect all your electrical plugs to. You can buy a power bar with a surge protector on it, but to have something with a long enough cord might not be sufficient. You could buy some of these. That's a power reel. This power reel is 50 feet long, and it's compact because the cord wraps inside. It also has 4 female electrical plugs that you can put stuff into this. So depending on how much equipment you have, you'll have to gear upon how many of these to buy. If you're DJing without a light show or you're in a dark facility, you're going to want to have some sort of table lamp with you. So I have some examples here. This first one I actually bought at a DJ supplier, and as you can see it has a bendy neck to it. So I'll put it on the table here, and as you can see you can have it as low down or twisted, whichever way that's going to suit your needs. Small bulb in the dome here, and on the base has a piece of Velcro that actually velcros to the base. I don't have with me right now. And the other thing I like is it has a dimmer switch on the base of it. The next one is actually an office desk lamp, but it's going to suit your needs. The base isn't as heavy as the one that comes with the other light there, but this one just has a basic on-off switch. It has a plastic coating over top of the bulb, which I like, so the bulb won't get damaged. And the other thing about it I like is that it's very compact, because this can raise way up like that. So if you need the light to be higher. The last one is actually quite a bit bigger. So as you can see, this will go up and down all the way as well, and you can move it from side to side. This one actually detaches from the base, and very wide rim here, so there's going to be a lot of light coming out of here. And just again on top, your basic on and off switch. This one's going to probably throw more light than the other two, so depending on how much light you need. So there's some examples. Shop the marketplace and see what's going to suit your needs. If you're doing some shows where they just don't have the flexibility to give you a table, then you can actually buy tables that will fold up, the legs will fold in, and you can take them to your gigs with you. This particular table is fiberglass, it's all one piece, it's 4 feet wide, but you can buy tables that also fold in the middle as well. That makes it much more compact. So this is a good resource for you if you know that you're playing at a place where they just can't give you a table.
If you want your DJ table to look professional, you might want to invest in a facade. A facade is a decorative partition that sits in front of your table and hides your equipment. These facades come in all different shapes and sizes. You can even buy them pre-lit, or you can put spotlights behind them. So if you want your setup to look professional, buy one of these facades.
Another thing you could consider buying is a generator. If the power ever goes out at a function, then you could keep on playing the music. However, these generators are only intended for outdoor use. The best types of functions they'd be good for are street dances, festivals, and any other type of outdoor event. Next, you'll have to decide whether you're going to buy and use lighting within your shows. Lighting provides a great party atmosphere, but on the other hand, they're very hard to set up, carry around, and they're very expensive. Here are the lights that I used to use. 2 sets of homemade bar lights, 2 strobe lights, a Darby light, a rainbow light, and a RoboZap. Here they are working at an actual dance. This is the rainbow light, appropriately named because it throws a vertical array of colors of the rainbow. These are the strobe lights. And this is called a Cosmo Ball. These lights were popular in the 1990s, but the lights of today as of 2015 are much more compact and versatile. I'll show you these lights in a few minutes, but first, if you don't have the budget to buy expensive lighting, then you can actually make a basic setup yourself. My dad made this set, and here's how he did it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is go out and buy a piece of wood, and you're going to buy a piece of wood approximately 6 inches wide by 1/2 inch thick. And after that, you're going to have to paint the wood black. The reason why you paint it black is not only to be decorative, but also to blend in with the fixtures. So that's the next thing you're going to buy, is you're going to buy the actual fixtures. These are indoor floodlight fixtures, And once you get those, you're going to screw them right to the wood. As you can see, I have 6 of them here. So then once you get them screwed to the wood, you're going to do some basic wiring. So basically what we've done is we've paired these in twos. So the ones on either end we've spliced together, and then the ones in the middle we've spliced together, and then these 2 inside ones we've spliced together. Now what I mean by splicing together is these fixtures will come with a plug on the end of them. So you cut those plugs off and you make the wires short enough. You cut them and then you peel back the coating, the outer coating, to expose the bare wires with inside, and you either twist them together or you solder them together. And then you're going to want to run another cord so that at the end result you're going to end up with 3 cables like this. So as I said, the 2 ends, the 2 middles, and then these 2 here. So for example, these 2 here are spliced together right here, and then they run out to this cable here. That way you're going to end up with 3 cables, as I said, and so 2 of the lights are going to flash at any given time. On the back you're going to want a bracket like this, and this basically mounts, the pole mounts inside here. So the whole entire thing is going to sit up like that inside the pole. Just remember, when you're screwing bulbs into the fixtures, don't over tighten them. Tighten them till they're just snug. If you over tighten them, they will break. Here are the homemade bar lights working connected to the left and right side of a truss. So this is an inexpensive option for you for basic lighting instead of buying the expensive stuff. The next thing you could buy to make the lights effective is a channel chaser. A channel chaser is just what the name implies. It chases the lights depending on what channel you have the lights plugged into. So when I mean channels, this would be channel 1, this would be channel 2, and this would be channel 3. So on the back you have the electrical plugs, and so from left to right, the electrical plug here would be channel 1, channel 2, channel 3 on the back. On the back of the box here too, there's a 1/4 inch input jack that you can run a 1/4 inch wire from here to the speakers, and that way this box becomes sound activated. So let's say I had my 1 plug from my 2 yellows plugged into bass. So then every time the bass note plays through the speakers and this is sound activated, then the yellow lights are going to flash depending on where you have this knob set to. Let's say I had my cord from my 2 reds plugged into the medium, same thing. And let's say I had my cord from my 2 blues plugged into this one, and every time a high note played, then the lights would flash for those. You can also set it to manual mode, so every time you push this button, the yellow lights would flash. If you push this button, the reds would flash, and if you push this button, the high note treble blues would flash. Okay, so now what I mean by chasing. So as I said, 3 channels, so they would chase in sequence like this. So you do yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue, and you could set the speed to how fast they're following each other like that, or vice versa, blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow. Then you can also have them go so that these 2 flash, then this one, then these 2, then this, or these 2, then this, or these 2, then this, just like that. And again, depending on the speed, you can have them going real slow like this, or you can set it real fast, which my hands probably won't go that fast to show you, but they'll chase it anyway. Then you can have a program hold over here, and over here you have your off switch and your dimmer switch so that the lights aren't so bright, and the high so that they're really, really bright. So as far as basic lighting goes, this is a great kind of box to have to add effects to your lighting. In order to have full control of your lights, you should have them connected to some sort of switch box. To end off part 1 of this video, I'll show you the lights that are popular as of 2014-2015. Be sure to join me for part 2 of how to become a professional DJ.